So Frank Hill, it's Frank, recently sent me an article where basically Screen Rant, someone at Screen Rant anyway, talked about Lanolin the sheep and how she basically has gone from being, a character introduced in issue 2, begging Sonic for help, to being a background character helping with the restoration of Restoration HQ, to now being a full-fledged main character as part of the new Diamond Cutters and by extension the Resistance, the Restoration, if you will, in the fight against Eggman. And that is as of issue 57 of IDW Sonic. But why did Screen Rant do this article? Well, it's quite simple, because basically in the headline of that article, they say that Lanolin reminds fans of a fan favorite from a previous regime of Sonic the Hedgehog, basically a previous comic regime, and that being Archie Comics. And I think the title of my video pretty much gives it away. Basically, Screen Rant says in this article that the reason Lanolin is the way she is and why she has a familiarity to her, to a lot of fans, is because she reminds them of Sally Acorn. And the reason for that is real simple. You see, it doesn't take a fan that subscribes to a comic, on a monthly basis, tries to purchase physically a comic through mail or going to the latest, or closest, I should say, not latest, but closest, comic shop or retailer that might, carry the comic to purchase. Nor does it take a fan to digitally download the latest issue to kind of see what's going on, to kind of see exactly what Screen Rant is talking about. Because let's not forget, a lot of people made the comparison to Amy Rose as well. A lot of people felt that Amy Rose in the earlier issues of IDW Sonic was basically Sally Acorn, but in Amy Rose's body. Heck, if you want to look at it from a Danny Phantom-like perspective, Amy Rose was basically ghosted by Sally, and Sally had inhibited Amy's body to basically take control. And now that she's done with Amy, she's decided to leap over into Lanolin, and, well, the rest is history. So, with that said, though, again, the reason Screen Rant makes these comparisons, basically, is because of the way she's presented, mainly when it comes to her dialogue. I mean, if you look at issues 57, maybe even before then, along with issues 58 as well, the more recent one to come out, she has basically been shown to not only, I guess you could say, have traits or showcase traits identical to Sally, in many ways, but her dialogue has also been identical. Like in 57, she chastises Sonic for not, looking before he leaps, for wanting to rush in without a plan, for not looking without thinking, stuff like that. Very identical to Sally in what she used to do in the Archie Sonic comic, which made them a great dynamic duo and basically made them more than friends, in the long run. Now, the other thing that Screen Rant also pointed out is, like Sally, she, Lanolin has a female device, or a device with a female name. Just like Sally had Nicole, who would evolve from being a portable device to the Lynx we all know and love, Lanolin has a device as well with a feminine name. What that name is, we do not know. And whether or not that device becomes, evolved as well and turns into a physical anthropomorphic version of who they are, that's a question for another day. But they basically point out all of these traits and why basically it reminds fans of Sally Acorn. Because basically, like I said, Lanolin is essentially the Sally Acorn, as of right now, of IDW. Because, let's be honest, Ian Flynn has stated, as of, throughout the years, if not recently, that he still intends to try to get Sally and the Freedom Fighters in there. It's just a matter of when and where it will happen and how they will be presented. But for the time being, it looks like Lanolin has taken up that position of being the Sally Acorn of IDW Sonic, just based on her presentation, her dialogue, how she presents herself and all that. It reminds a lot of fans and even Screen Rant, of Sally herself. Like, she is basically the IDW equivalent to Sally for the time being. But then there was something else that Screen Rant brought up, towards the end of the article. And this is something that I'm sure a lot of fans might be wondering about, since Lanolin does remind them a little bit of Sally, in personality, presentation, dialogue, and all that. But what could that be? Well, the one other thing that Screen Rant pointed out, that, even a lot of fans like myself are wondering, since, Lanolin has those identical Sally traits, almost to a T, making her the Sally Acorn of IDW for the time being, basically Sally, as I pointed out from a Danny Phantom, example, ghosted her way from Amy Rose and now into Lanolin. The question, obviously, that Screen Rant presented towards the end of the article is, would this mean we'll get a romantic relationship between the two characters, that being Lanolin and Sonic? And that is a good question, especially with the fact that, Sega has, lately, let it be known that they are considering, since they're being a little bit more or less restrictive on things, like how Shadow is written in comics and other media, Sega has let it be known that, they're willing to probably look at the possibility of giving Sonic a romantic love interest. The question is on who that would be. I mean, everybody has the theories that it could be, obviously Amy, because, she's the most well-renowned outside of a Sally Acorn. Some have said it could be Sally or someone different, or they may not do it at all. But Screen Rant brought up the question of, will we see something like that with Lanolin and Sonic, since Lanolin has all the identical traits of Sally Acorn, and she's basically the Sally Acorn right now of the book. And that's a good question. That's a good question. I could probably see it happening if, they get the okay. I could see Lanolin and Sonic hooking up, especially if she is presented very identically in dialogue and presentation and all that, to Sally. I could see Lanolin and Sonic hooking up as somewhat an homage to Sonic and Sally, especially if they have, like I say, identical banter and play off each other and everything like Sally and Sonic did in Archie. I could see it. I could see that. And you know what? Honestly, I think fans would be okay with it. I think fans would be totally okay with it because of the fact that, hey, if she is going to be presented identically to Sally, in her dialogue, in her presentation, and so on, then I don't think anybody would have an issue with it, because let's be honest. There's a lot of talented artists out there nowadays that could basically use whatever software they have, paint over Lanolin, put Sally in their place, or put Sally in her place, and there you go. There are very talented artistic fans out there that will do that and say, yeah, we'll just put Sally here, and there you go, it's Sally, because that's who they see. That's who they see when she talks and how she presents herself and stuff like that. You take a look at how she's presented and her worriness when her and Whisper and Tangle are in this portal, or basically in this zone, if you will, in issue 58 and all that. And it does remind people of Sally, because we have seen Sally be put into situations of the unknown to where she does worry too, until she basically gets the inspiration and encouragement to basically step up as the leader she's meant to be. Let's not forget. That after, the reboot, the first, 5-part reboot, Return of the Freedom Fighters, let's not forget that, I think, 58, 57 or something like that? Nicole had to snap her out of her self-doubt when they were trying to rescue everybody at Station Square. Nicole had to be the one to snap her out of her self-doubt, out and everything, and remind her of who she was. And that right there, that moment, even though not on the same levels of what we see with Lanolin, in issue 58, it's very similar. It's very similar. So, yeah. Again, I could see for the fact that, you see these similar traits in the way she's presented, that, yeah, Lanolin is basically the Sally Acorn right now of IDW Sonic. And if they wanted to go the romantic relationship route, if given the okay finally by Sega to do so, I could probably see Sonic and Lanolin hooking up because of, again, that similarity Lanolin has with Sally, and in a way, it would not only would it pay homage to that great romance between the two characters, but I don't think fans would have an issue with it either because of the fact that, hey, Lanolin is essentially Sally in sheep's clothing, as the old saying goes, or to coin an old saying, wolf in sheep's clothing. Yeah, that's basically what Sally is. She is basically a princess, a squirrel chipmunk, if you will, in sheep's clothing right now, known as Lanolin. But yeah, I could see that happening. I think it'd be more accepted, as more. It would be more accepted as a relationship, is what I'm trying to say, than I think any other relationship in the comic if they finally get the okay to do something like that. And again, I think fans would be fine with it too because of the fact that if she is being presented in this manner, that they'd be cool with it because, to kind of paraphrase an old saying, as I mentioned, she's basically Sally Acorn in sheep's clothing, but under a different name. So we'll have to see what happens there if they do that, because it also reminds me of something else. It also reminds me of another comic. I think S. Chavalis did. I don't know if she did it or not, but S. Chavalis did a little web comic. I think she's the one that did it, where basically it was set in Sonic Boom, in the world of Sonic Boom, but basically the behind the scenes backstage world of Sonic Boom, as if it's being filmed like a real television series, like the backstage at Archie Comics I showed you guys a couple weeks ago. Basically, I don't know if it's S. Chavalis that did this. But basically, there's a comic where Sally, seeing that, she's not going to be in Sonic Boom, Sonic finds a way to say, you know what? I'll get you in Sonic Boom. I know how to do it. And he gets her to get, and basically what happens is he gets her the gig of Percy the Bandicoot. That's what happens. He gets her the gig of Percy the Bandicoot, which kind of throws everybody off until basically they have to explain, oh, wait a minute, don't get angry, it's Sally, this is Sally. And then she kind of, I guess, starts speaking, and it's like, yeah, it's me. Sonic got me the role. He got me the role to be Percy in the show so I can be with you guys. So, yeah, as strange as that might sound, I guess you could say in comparison to what I said about, Lanolin being Sally in sheep's clothing, that's kind of what it's like. That's kind of what it's like, Sally basically, this is Sally, but she's in disguise playing a role, under a different name and everything, but we could tell maybe that it is her. Again, I know, strange comparison to get off topic a little bit, but that is essentially what it reminds me of that little comic I saw at DeviantArt one time, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you know which one I'm talking about. But yeah, again, I could see it if it's allowed to happen. I could see it, and again, I think fans would be cool with it. Overall, do I see Lanolin being the Sally Acorn of IDW Sonic for a long time? Do I see it? That's a good question. That is a good question. And I would have to say, for the time being, yeah, I could see it. I could see her being the Sally Acorn for that time and all that, without the princess title, obviously, but I could see her being in that role. I really can. And I could see her taking on more of a leadership role as time goes on. I mean, let's be honest. She is basically she's not just part of the resistance, the restoration freedom fighters, if you will, but she's also part of a little subgroup as well, known as the New Diamond Cutters. So, I could see her having, more opportunities to grow, not just, working alongside Sonic, but if IDW ever decides to do another Tangle and Whisper miniseries like they did previously, I could see her being involved in that as, Tangle, Whisper, and Lanolin. I could see that. Well, I could see it being dubbed the Diamond Cutter miniseries. I could see her developing in that as a character. I really can. Now, do I see her maybe going down similar paths that Ian Flynn took Sally pre-Sonic Archie reboot? Hopefully not. Hopefully not, if you know what I'm saying. I don't think anybody wants to see this potential fan favorite that is obviously inspired by Sally Acorn, in her with her presentation and dialogue and all that, as well as basically being Sally in sheep's clothing, if you will. I don't think fans are going to want to relive another Mecha Sally situation with Lanolin becoming Mecha Lanolin. I don't think fans would want to live through that again. So, to me, I have no problem. So to me, I have no problem with her basically, outside of that, being the Sally Acorn of IDW Sonic for the time being. Because again, you have all this unlimited potential for her to grow as a character. Again, you have her being part of the new Diamond Cutters, which could result in a spin-off series, or a spin-off mini-series with her Tangle and Whisper, sort of being like the Tangle and Whisper 2 miniseries, but known as the Diamond Cutters. I could see her developing through something like that. I could see her developing by interacting with Sonic and Amy and Tails, and Knuckles and all them even more. I could see that, and it would, and in the long run, it would benefit her character, especially if she starts showing more of those Sally Acorn traits that people say that she, pretty much has, within her right now, or she's being presented with, along with maybe a bit of her own little quirks and everything, to kind of, not just make her a Sally Acorn clone, but make her her own character. So yeah, I could see her being in that position of a Sally Acorn with the same kind of presentation and all that, dialogue, characteristics and all that, with her own little personal quirks and tropes here and there to make her her own character. I could see it. I could see her being the Sally Acorn of IDW for the time being. I don't know how long Ian plans to do that, but I could see it for the time being. And like I said, as long as he doesn't take her down that same path that he took Sally before the reboot happened. So, so yeah, hopefully if he doesn't do that, I think we'll be fine. But overall, though, I have no problem with Lanolin as a character. And, if she's going to be the Sally Acorn for the, for the comic for the time being, until we do get the actual Sally in some shape or form in there, I'm all for it. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. I will provide the link, a screen rant that Frank Hill provided to me in the description. Let me know what your thoughts are, though, guys, down below. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this. I do apologize if I, kind of rambled a little bit or kind of spaced a little bit, during the video. I was trying to think about what I was going to say, as well as I'm also kind of in a hurry because I got to get myself ready for work in a little while. I got to take the bus, maybe an earlier bus and everything, because the other bus that I was supposed to take yesterday didn't show up on time. So yeah, that was a big issue there. But anyway, though, guys, outside of that, let me know what your thoughts are. Comment below, live chat during the premiere. Here, check out the Teespring store in the upper left-hand corner if you're watching this on YouTube. Also, guys, you will get a BEW Roses Discussions audio podcast version of this down the line, so be on the lookout for that. Also, check me out at VENMO at BEW Roses for content you can't get anywhere else except there, especially some of the newer content. Check me out at deviantart.com, so that's BVW1979, to find stuff there that you might like. Also, check me out at Venmo at Brian-Walmer-2 to help me out there financially, as well as at Cash App at BW Roses 98. Also, check me out at patreon.com, so that's BW Roses, to support me with a $1 or $3 tier. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what your thoughts are down below and in the live chat. Do you see Lanolin being the new Sally Acorn for the time being in IDW? Do you see those traits that everybody's pointing out, very identical and similar in presentation? Also, do you think if they were to lift the restrictions a little bit more, that, especially in the romance department, do you think we could see a Sally Lanolin romance identical to Sonic and Sally, paying a bit of an homage to that romance in Archie Comics, if you will, as well as do you see her essentially being Sally in sheep's clothing? Let me know. Comment down below and in the live chat, and I'll talk to y'all later.